And there we are again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mopping on Money, Saturday Night Live and Ramblin'. I'm Clay with the lovely and gracious E-Train. Good to
Thank you.
see y'all. Good to be with y'all. Jane, how the hell are you? Hope you're doing well.
Hello, my love, Jane.
Kill some background reverb. Thank you. That's much better.
What'd you do?
I had it open in the background.
Oh,
So there's like a 9-second delay. And it's
it's
kind of
5.
weird hearing my voice echo 9 seconds behind in my ears.
Yeah, it's a funny 5-second delay. It's like in case something goes really wrong, what can we do in 5 seconds? We have no idea.
Yeah. And it makes communication like between us and the chats a little bit funny because we'll be responding to something and there's already 3 or 4 questions on.
Mm-hmm.
And good evening, dogs. How are you? Otherwise, sometimes
Sky.
referred to as Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Good seeing y'all. Hope it's been a good week for you. It's been a good week for us. Pretty a little dry. We could use some rain, but that's not uncommon.
We had
Hopefully,
some
we'll
this
get some
morning.
soon. We did not. Ellen and I disagree on the definition of rain. If it doesn't get the ground wet underneath a tree,
If there's
it's not
water,
rain.
if there's water falling from the sky, that's rain.
Ellen will see a heavy mist. It's rain.
No, there are drops falling everywhere. I'm like, that is rain. He's like, that's not rain. I'm like, okay, whatever you say, man.
So probably ought to put up a poll. How do you define rain?
Um, Precipitation from the clouds?
Fog?
No,
It's
those are just
precipitation.
low clouds, low
Yeah.
wet clouds, humidity. Clay and I can always disagree on everything. But Jane, you're getting ready to see me. I know I'm excited. It'll be Friday, which is a little less than a week from today. Excited.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, or maybe on Replay Crew or new to the show, Ellen is taking a road trip. She's going to go see her grandfather for a few days, and then going up to see Jane, who is also a personal friend. So she'll be on the road, and while she's at Jane's, actually be doing some filming of solar cooking, possibly among other things.
Even if the weather's not good, we're still going to try to figure it out. So I've got
You
UV
want to?
lights.
Yeah, I was going to say you want to take my sun lamp.
Mm-hmm. When the
When
paint
the
starts to bubble in my house, it's raining. Fair enough.
that's a standard I have not heard before,
I have not
but I
either.
kind of like it. Kind of
Not
like it.
bad.
Tonight, we're going to have the world premiere, or first ever in history, of a discussion on frugality.
Y'all, there
Now,
wasn't a whole lot going on in the world this week. So we just were like, what are we going to talk about? Like, well, might as well do something different because we don't know. So here it is.
I gave a talk earlier to a group about taxes and budgeting. We won't talk much about the taxes tonight, but got a lot of questions from the group about the budgeting and all. So kind of got the impression that it was somewhat helpful. And it's something that amazingly, it's not terribly sexy, but it's terribly important. And so with that in mind, we thought, this would be a good topic to discuss tonight.
I would have to mention because I look like Red Girl. I have been out in the sun. Clearly, Clay has not. Just saying.
Yeah, I am my usual basic albino self, so that has not changed. I will try to get out and get at least a little color here over the next few weeks. But
Mhm.
yeah, I am basic albino right now.
I just realized how much darker than you I was. I was like, wow.
I was going to try to make the argument it's lighting, different lighting in the rooms, different backgrounds, whatever. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's not.
You know, you're showing your DEI. You're having brown people on your channel.
No comment.
Just saying.
I will stick with.
Since I've got the friends, like, undo that for a sec, because I got my new frames. So you guys got to tell me if you like them or not. Everybody pay attention. I have not gotten the lenses put in them yet, but this would be. Can y'all see that? My new ones? Anyone? Yes? No? Maybe? Should do? Shouldn't do?
Remember, it's 5 seconds behind plus typing time. So
I know. So anyway, let me know.
and if y'all want her to re-show them later, be glad to.
I can try to. If I don't have the light, then you can't see me at all. And if I do have the light, and there's reflect. It's just. I love YouTube and all the things that go along with it.
All right.
Continue on. Oh, thank you, Martha.
Back to the well-known little budgeting. Now,
thank you.
Want you to let's start off, I guess, by trying to define somewhat success or failure in life. Now, if I ask y'all who this is, I think most people would probably recognize him. He has some claim to fame.
Mr. Mike.
Mr. Mike. Well, was he a success or failure?
Depends on how you look at it.
How does a man with $400 million find himself bankrupt?
He spent too much money.
How about this guy? Success or failure?
Depends on how you look at it.
How does a man worth $500 million go bankrupt? You thought $400 million was bad. How do you do it with $500 million? Or how about this guy? Guy that did everything his way. Really didn't seek out advice, just doing things, as they came to him and doing it his way. Success or failure? Well, he had career earnings of $29 million plus endorsements, which were probably triple that. All gone. Bankrupt. And, these guys aren't alone. Here's kind of a hall of fame of celebrity stars, generally athletes, but I could do it for most any group. You've got All-Pro Unitas, All-Pro Taylor, All-Pro Dykstra, All-Pro Pippen. You've got Dorothy Hamill that was kind of America's sweetheart. She was the one to really make women's skating a glamorous, popular event.
Oh, my mother made me get that haircut when I was 9.
You'd still look good in it.
Oh, whatever.
Terrell Owens, All-Pro. John Elway, All-Pro. Johnny Unitas was my father's best friend. Best BFF. Best female friend?
Friends forever. Best friends forever.
All right. Yeah, I'm not quite up to date on all these, so y'all help me out on occasion.
That is not true. I ask you all the time and you tell me what they are.
Some of them I know. Some of these, no, not so much. So, success or failure. A lot of people will just look at somebody's public persona and say, huge success. For me, it's what you do behind the scenes that determines whether or not you're a success or failure. It's not the people, even if they may be numbered in the millions, who don't know you, that matter. It's the people, your friends and family, that know you. Their opinions, their thoughts matter. If you neglect your responsibilities in a major area directly related to them, personally, it's hard for me to consider you a success. Now, I'm not judging these people. I don't know their hearts. I don't know each individual circumstances, and I know time and chance happen to all men. So I'm not really judging them, but I'm using them as an example and to try to emphasize that even for those who make good money, maybe even millionaires, that if you don't know what's going on with your money, that there are plenty of people out there that would be glad to relieve you of that responsibility.
Oh God, yeah.
So, and that's one reason why we do the show, why we have this show, started this channel, is we want people to better understand those things that impact their future. So, let me ask you, what makes you different? For the individuals I listed, and obviously many others, nobody ever taught them about money and how it works. More importantly, these people really didn't care to learn. They were too busy doing other stuff that really didn't improve their life in the long run. Most of them developed huge, massive spending habits, which kind of, is a lead in into the night. They would blow massive amount of monies on cars, on women, or friendships,
Family.
on family, on blow, on huge entourages. MC Hammer couldn't say no to family and friends. I think he had an entourage, seems like I remember, somewhere around 200 people that he was taking care of.
Shite.
Yeah. Many of them got bad advice.
That's a lot of humans.
That's a lot of humans. That's a hell of an entourage. That's, if you can't say no, I mean, really, whether it's 10 or 200, it's still, is it being a good steward of your money? Some of those people that may be what they'd want to do again. Can't answer that. But my goal is to just have you considering these things, thinking about these things, and making the best decision for you and your family. Many of these people got bad advice. Problem is, they couldn't recognize good from bad. They misplaced trust. They did not know how to judge financial people or financial individuals. When I was trading derivatives, I'd work with people who'd be representing a type of derivative as having one response to this shift in interest rates. And on the very next phone call, they would say it would do the exact opposite to whoever they were talking about. It depended on what their needs were. Bottom line, there's a lot of people that will be glad to take your money if you don't care about it.
I was watching something the other day, Clay. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but it was a guy, I can't remember his name, Kobe something, successful guy. And he's like, if I have to spend my money to get you to like me, which is what a lot of these guys do, because they have low self-confidence. If somebody's going to like them, they have to spend all this money on them, or they feel like they need to. And he's like, if I have to spend my money on you for you to like me, you're not worth it. Like, I don't need friends that.
If you have to buy friends, they're not friends.
No, they're not.
If you have to entertain them and provide them fun, joy, excitement, whatever, they're not friends.
They're not friends.
Oftentimes we, find ourselves, and, in some sense, everybody's, does it or has done it, trying to live up to someone else's expectations. or trying to create an image. It's kind of like I refer to as first date impressions. You're on your P's and your Q's. The real person rarely comes out on the first date.
Okay.
So, people will flaunt themselves, their money, their success. Even if they're rich, oftentimes they will rack up debt, crazy amounts of debt.
Oh.
Cute movie just came out called Thelma about a grandmother who gets scammed. What happened to Louise?
Different movie, Clay. Oh, sure.
Is the name of it? Its
Thelma.
name of it's just Thelma.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to try to look that up. But these, oftentimes we see people that may be very disciplined in their profession, but who are undisciplined in their life. It just ends up not working out in their best interest. Now, in looking at, successful people, consistent, they are consistent. Sports Illustrated estimated 78% of professional football players, 68% of professional basketball players face financial troubles and bankruptcy 2 years after leaving the game. 2 years. And bankruptcy, just to make sure everybody's on the same level, bankruptcy is simply when you have more debt, when you owe more money than the assets value that you own. More debt than assets.
You're upside down.
You're upside down. You can't pay it all off. If you sold everything, you can't pay it all off. So once you realize that and try to get relief in the courts, it's a formal process known as bankruptcy. Just a short list of NBA players lost a minimum of $61 million.
Is that all together or each?
That's each. Each one lost at least $61 million, filed bankruptcy. So as you can tell, if you follow basketball at all, there's some names there that'll ring a bell. $61 million minimum.
Well, Christian Laettner deserved it. He was a dookie.
I knew somebody would come up with that. If you watch the show for long, you know that I have 50 rules for life. And rule number 2 is that stupid should hurt. Sometimes I think it ought to be rule number 1, but it's rule number 2. These people.
Rule number 1 needs to go.
Rule number 1 is critical to every other rule.
Yeah.
It lays the groundwork for every other rule. If you don't believe rule number 1, you won't believe any of the others.
Well, now you got to tell them what that is again.
Well, rule number 1 is do as I say, exactly as I say, exactly how I say it, exactly when I say it, and you will be okay. So
it's kind of like his First Amendment, just not. It's actually the opposite, but it's the basis for the rest of the rules, which is sort of the basis for the rest of the amendments. That's how I'm relating those two. So yeah.
You mean the Second Amendment protects all the others?
No, the First Amendment protects all the others.
Freedom of speech and religion and assembly?
Yes.
Okay. I've always heard it that the Second Amendment, the right to bear, protects the others. But however,
we can disagree about that later.
That's no problem. So these people have, certain patterns that they fall into. They are careless with their money. The Bible talks about he who is faithful with little is faithful in much. And that's just a good life discipline, learning to be responsible with the little things exercise due responsibility on the little things. It makes it much more likely you will exercise due responsibility on the big things. Many of them, as I alluded to previously, made decisions financially that they shouldn't have. They didn't understand. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't pay enough attention. They didn't research it enough. However you want to paint that, bottom line is one of my strongest recommendations to individuals is if you don't understand what's going on with your money, what's happening with your money, don't do it. Don't do it. Because that's oftentimes how scammers will work. They will present such a beautiful picture of what will happen, and it doesn't end up. If something sounds too good to be true in finance, 99.9% of the time, it is. Obviously, there's the common expenditures on drugs, gambling, women, but even extending that to, more personal situations for, people with a little bit less income. We are a society focused and intent on entertainment. We value entertainment over most anything else. Neil Postman years ago wrote a book titled Amusing Ourselves to Death. It's a great read. I've recommended it before, but just the title, the idea, I think describes this modern society very aptly, is that we are a society obsessed with entertainment. We are entertaining ourselves to death, trying to string together a series of happy events to make ourselves feel happy or feel better.
I think too, it's the instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like if I can't have it right now, well, I'll find somebody to do it, and I'll pay them enough that they will, whatever it is. And we've gotten so into this, it has to be now. But I think that that is a huge problem. People don't know how to wait for things anymore.
Or are even less willing to work for them. I saw one girl story about her. She quit McDonald's because she thought she was too pretty to flip burgers. No other comment offered up here.
I'm not going to say a word.
Another, common problem among, higher income earners is taxes, ignoring them particularly. The IRS is always the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They have the ability to come in and shut your financial life down, cut off access to your checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, and just to, put this in context, what would happen if right now you got a call or you went to the store and you gave them your credit card and it didn't work? And you say, well, that can't happen. I have plenty of money in my account. You tried again, didn't work. You tried another credit card, didn't work. You try your ATM card, doesn't work. You go to the ATM, doesn't work. You walk around to the bank, walk into the branch, and you ask the teller, I've got, what's going on? I've got, several $1,000s in my account. And the teller goes, yes, you do. It's still there. It's just the IRS has locked your account.
To give a actual real life example of that, I had a friend who actually kept my children when they were little. And her dad, when he passed away, left her and her siblings this farm. Well, they didn't know that he hadn't paid the taxes on them. And they're still trying to kind of figure everything out, what's going on. And I go to her house and she is just in tears. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I can't access any of my money. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, well, Dad had this tax thing on the property and we didn't know. And now all of our accounts are locked. Until
and when that And when that happens, if you don't have the cash available somewhere else that hasn't been locked to
You're
pay it
screwed.
off, it will take you months or even years to get that unfrozen.
Yeah.
So, how would your life be if your credit cards and checkbook and ATMs, the bank were all cut off from you? The IRS doesn't care if you eat or drink. I'll just go ahead and
No.
throw that in.
They don't care if you can pay your rent or your mortgage or feed your children. They do not care.
They do not care. That is not their concern. So just keep in mind, ignoring taxes, your obligations in that regard rarely will, if ever, work out to your benefit. So, you know, the idea is that knowing and understanding what's going on with your money and taking care of your obligations or not, those are your only two choices. It'll either work for you or against you. So choose one. Now, in terms of budgeting, a common rule, people wonder, how much should I be spending on this or that? And a common historical breakout of the different categories is called the 50-30-20 rule. 50% going to your needs, 30% to your wants, and 20% to savings. And keep in mind, this is just a generalized rule. It's not passed down from the Almighty. Okay. But it makes a good starting place. If you want to know, kind of like, is your life in balance? Are you controlling things well? This is not a bad place to start. Now, it's kind of, understand what I'm saying here. Most people focus on their immediate needs. And sometimes if money is really, really tight, and I know there's a lot of people who financially are really struggling now, that's what most people will, have to do. But I hope to try to maybe adjust your focus a little bit away from the immediacy of the fires burning in front of your face and get you to focus a little bit more on the future. If possible, I don't want you absorbed or solely focused on the here and now. But I want you also thinking, planning somewhat for what lies ahead. You need a plan. And so to try to encourage this, I'm going to introduce you to what Albert Einstein called the greatest invention the world has ever produced, the miracle of compounding. And people don't understand. It takes one of two things to make money. It either takes money, which most people don't have, or it takes time, which most people do, particularly younger, middle-aged people. Sky, what about your voice recognition for your bank accounts? Today, if computer scammers can take your voice and get into your account, should we not use voice recognition? I am not a big because of the ability of AI to mimic your voice, and it'll only get better. Particularly if you have public recordings of your voice,
Like, you mean like on YouTube?
like on YouTube or Instagram or
Yeah.
Facebook or whatever. Even if you have Alexa in your house, if you have a iPhone with Siri on it, your voice is being constantly monitored and recorded. So I think using voice recognition for security purposes is probably not
Bogus.
is probably not going to be highly utilized. I don't think it's going to be able to provide the level of security that, most people want. So
And I
no, I
think,
do
yeah,
not recommend it.
yeah. No, and I think y'all know how I feel about AI. I think it's extremely dangerous, and I just, I'm not pleased with the whole thing. I just think I mean, there are famous people who are on commercials with their. You yawning there, Clay? You all right?
A little bit.
um, who whose actual persona and voice and intonation matches advertising products they have never even heard of.
Yeah,
So,
I'll even see a lot on some social media sites. It'll look like Morgan Freeman is recommending a product or something, and it's not.
mhm.
It's AI. You can tell the mouth movement is not exactly perfect, but that's a slight technical issue that'll probably be resolved in a few months, a year. And before long, bottom line, before long, it'll be hard to tell the real from the AI. Now, in terms of the miracle of compounding and focusing on the future, how does that work? Basically, and I tell my kids this: if you start investing $50 a month, you give up one night a month going out and drinking, save the $50 and invest it at age 20, continue to do so to age 65 at the market average return, which this is even kind of low. It depends on the period you take. But at 10%, you'll have $524,000 by the time you're 65. Now, if I increase that to a just, mediocre average fund, mutual fund at 12%, it doubles. It goes from 524 to $1.07 million. So $50 a month reasonably can make you a millionaire by the time you retire. And I won't go into it now, but there are tons of good investments. No load mutual funds with no commissions, no sales charges, 100% of your money in, 100% of your money out. And these are professionally managed. And you can tie them electronically to your checking account so that you can move money from your checking account to invest. You can move money from your investment to your checking account just by using your phone.
And can't you automatically invest from like your paycheck?
And you can set up a regular investment each month. Pick any day of the month when the money comes out. $50 a month. And that $1 million, that doesn't even include increasing that $50 a month, over the years as you get a pay raise or whatever. So,
and there is calculator. Help me out. What's the link to even go through all that?
Let me hold off on that.
Okay.
Because let me finish this, and then we can go back and look at some of the practicalities. Now, we're talking about the miracle of compounding. This is just a cute little graph I saw where you invest $5,000 and get an 8% return. This light green line at the bottom is the $5,000. And as you can tell, by the end of 45 years, the vast amount of money that you have accumulated is the interest.
Mm-hmm.
Quote unquote, the interest on the interest. Because you got to realize you earn interest here. Well, the next month, the interest you receive is the interest on the interest. And it just, as you earn more, you earn more. The interest compounds to where it dwarfs your principal contribution.
And that's a flat investment?
That's a flat investment. And that's at 8%. So at 8%, you'll have $180,000. Now, let's say you get 2% more a year at, the market 75-year average. Instead of 180, it goes up to 441. So if I did this same graph at 10%, I'd be off the monitor about, 6 inches up. Now, 12%, you got a mediocre mutual fund. 12%, I'm up over $1 million. Now I'm probably about a foot and a half off the monitor. But wait, say I get a decent or a good mutual fund at 15%. Well, you're looking at $4 million off of a $5,000 one-time investment. So when I say, have a plan, the needs right now in front of you are important, but your future is important too. And with some modest discipline, minimum sacrifice, you can go a long way toward providing for your future. Now, in terms of spending, like Ellen alluded to previously, everybody loves a spender. Good time Charlie. You keep throwing that money around and they love you until you can't spend anymore.
Then they're gone.
Then they're gone.
That works with husbands as well. I just wanted to let y'all know.
There's actually a story behind that.
Yes, there is.
But for everybody, if you're married, for husbands and wives, you should organize your expenses, keep track of your receipts. You should track them either in Excel or use an app. And I've got, a few apps to suggest to you. In terms of Excel, I'll throw
There's
this
quite
up.
a few that you can actually take a picture of your receipts and they will track it for you. You just take a picture when you're going to make a purchase and they will put it in the category that, okay, what we got here?
Yeah, this is an Excel spreadsheet where you can track your expenses. Okay, you can list them all: transportation, car payments, auto insurance,
You have to make it
fuel,
bigger.
public.
That's not visible.
Well, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can do this by month, week, day, whatever. So if you want to use Excel, there's some good tools out there that you can use.
That's the personal budget template.
Yeah. And if you want a copy of that, then email me at moffatonmoney@gmail.com or DM me on Twitter. Send me an email address. I'll be glad to send it to you. And I've got a few apps I'm going to, recommend to you. But a couple other suggestions first on generalized spending. But do track your money. If you have a significant other, both of you track them. You both need to know where your money is going. A major recommendation or suggestion I would make to you is don't spend on impulse. So many people are impulse buyers. Traditionally, I have a $50 rule. I don't buy anything over $50 without sleeping on it or thinking about it. And it's amazing how many times I end up not doing the purchase. So have some limit to where you will restrict your impulse buying. If you want it, it'll still be available tomorrow, or you can order it, but sleep on it. At least give yourself one day to think about it. Credit cards are good and bad. For a lot of people, I recommend that use it. Get a credit card. You can't hardly function in this society without a credit score. And the way you get a credit score is to have a credit card. So get a credit card, put $25 on it, pay it off, then put it away, cut it up. And remember that miracle of compounding I talked about? Well, it also works against you as well. Now, on your investment, we were talking about earning 8, 10, 12%. Your credit card interest rate is 25 or 30% interest. So you can just imagine how much money that will suck from you if you run a balance on your credit card. Don't pay it off each month. You know, one way to limit your credit card charges is to spend cash. Most people who spend cash will spend far less. And I've even had people that, you know, put on what I call an envelope system, take their paycheck, cash it, and divide it into different envelopes. You've got this envelope for your house payment, this envelope for groceries, this envelope for, you know, utilities, this envelope for entertainment. And once that money is gone, it's gone. Yeah. So most people who spend cash will buy less stuff, will waste less money, as I describe it. So the encouragement is for you to fight a consumer culture. We live in a world where the advertising, the TV, all the shows, whatever, encourage you to buy. You're encouraged to spend, spend, spend. You know, no shows that I can think of, you know, popular TV shows or whatever, encourage you to save. But I promise you, once you start saving, you will love seeing your savings grow.
If
You
invest them, not if you just put them in a savings account with your 2% per year or whatever.
Yeah. Some savings accounts in some banks don't even pay the 2%. So, you know, if you've got money set aside, you need to make sure that it's working for you and not for the bank. That's kind of a whole different topic, but if you've got some questions, we can go into that. Jane, like the Amish, you know, the Amish are good examples of simple living and, you know, frugal living, not spending money. And the ones I have met seem to be very content and happy in their life. Sometimes simplicity without the stress of debt and having to, you know, pay all the bills and try to maintain some standard and create impressions for others. Sometimes simpler is a lot better. Now, in terms of the apps, I went through and read 10 different articles on the best apps. I have not used all of these. I am not recommending them per se. I'm just saying from all the reviews, comments, you know, whatever that I read, these were some of the more popular and suggested ones. So it's just a place for you maybe to begin your search. The first one is, and some of these are free, some of these you have to buy. First one was Empower. It's a free one. It's just a simple, clean, straightforward budget app. You enter in your expenses, your budget. You can create all sorts of different goals. It's relatively easy to use. Okay. The next one is YNAB. You need a budget.
Yes.
Which is kind of a cute little name. It is the most expensive at $99 per year, but from all accounts, it's a great app. It does have a bit of a learning curve, and it uses zero-based budgeting, which is probably preferable in some ways. You take your paycheck and then allocate from there. It has a very detailed reporting function. Offers some good suggestions to save for the future. The descriptions, the comments indicated that it was probably the best app at changing users' mindsets, changing how they viewed spending and saving. You know, some comments seem to indicate it was a little time consuming at first till you learn it well, but overall is rather friendly. Another one was Rocket. It's a free app. helps with getting rid of unwanted or unused subscriptions. I've even seen commercials about, apps that do this, because apparently a lot of people will have subscriptions that they don't remember, they forget, aren't aware of. And so this helps find and eliminate unwanted subscriptions. You can also view your credit score in it for free, or you can always use Credit Karma. It's simple to use. And for those of y'all not familiar, credit score. What's the movie with Jimmy Stewart when he was a banker?
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when his bank was about to fail, and he ran into the bank, stood up on the counter, and he was talking to the people, and he pointed out individual people and talked to them about their life and their kids, and what the bank did for them to help them in this time. He knew everyone. He knew their family. He grew up with them. And prior to the large mega banks, the commercial banking, whatever, the community banker knew the people, and so he could make judgments on whether or not this person cared and was disciplined enough to pay the bank back any money that the bank would loan to them. Because banks aren't built to handle losses. They cannot stay in business if they make loans and don't get paid back. So that's a big deal. Well, how many of you know your community banker now? Probably none of you on average.
On average.
They don't know you. They don't know what you do for a living. They don't know how much you make. They don't know your credit history. They don't know what bills or tragedies or hurts or pains you've had in your life. And if you saw them on the street, they probably wouldn't recognize you. So how do they judge whether or not you have the character? And that's really what they're evaluating, is your character, your personal discipline, to know you'll pay them back. Jane, wrong. I know my banker, it's a small town. Well, certainly there are some people that will, but on average,
Jane and I know our bankers.
Out of the 300 million people in the country, I would say it's statistically a very, very small number.
Probably.
But even now, the community banker for a loan at most banks, larger banks, they don't even make the decision. They have to run it through the process or a committee, and the committee uses your credit score. So the credit score is a numerical estimation of your quote unquote character, how you manage your money. So your credit score is important in your financial evaluation. There are even some jobs where they will check your credit score before they hire you. Some other apps real quick. You've got Quick and Simplify. It costs $2.99 a month, and it was one of the most flexible. Also uses zero-based budgeting, or you can use the 50-30-20 rule, or an envelope, any method you want to use. It also monitors your credit score. Good Budget is another free one, another basic no-frills budgeting app. You manually enter experiences, use envelope method. So once you've spent that or get close to it, it notifies you. There are no ads in it, which is kind of nice. Every dollar, there is a free version and a premium version. The premium version is $79 a year. This is Dave Ramsey's app. Uses zero-based budgeting. The free version is obviously the no-frills version. Now, this syncs across multiple devices. Obviously, that would be the premium. And you can customize categories and goals. You can also link to your bank account to download transactions if you want. Oh, and one thing I skipped over was Monarch. Monarch is a fee, also $99 a year. but it's probably a good one for couples because it tracks both parties simultaneously. If you're going to the store, you go in, call up the app, you can see your significant other already went to the store that day and already bought the goods. It's a better app to manage family spending. So, if you're a couple, that might be one that you want to take a good long look at. So that's just a few apps that I saw that most people were a little bit excited about. Again, the important thing is that you know where your money is going. Where are you spending your money? Yes, it's a little tedious to track your money, but you need to know where it's going. Jane, here's my question, Clay, from you. It's a damn good question. Some of them, quote unquote, don't connect electronically to your bank. Do they connect to the internet in the background? Don't know. So I can't give you a good answer in that. Are some of them collecting information on what you spend? I think your real question is some of them are collecting information on what you spend or your lifestyle or whatever. They very well may be. And if you're concerned about that or unsure if the app is doing that, there are other apps where you can monitor, couldn't think of the word, monitor data transmissions received and uploaded from your phone or computer. So you can see if, as you enter information, if information is being uploaded. But is it possible that they do it once a day when you're not looking? Yes. A lot of ways that could happen. So basically, if you use an iPhone or an Android phone, you probably should assume that anything and everything on that phone is available to Apple and Google. I know if people using Google search engine, there for a while, Google maintained that they weren't tracking what you search for. Well, we now know that they are and were. Information is of huge value to these companies. I would love for Congress to pass a law that they could no longer monetize consumer data without specific consumer consent. But hadn't seen anything in Congress coming up on that. So it's a good question. I can't specifically answer that, Jane. So if you want to do it, the Excel spreadsheet, I feel reasonably comfortable that information is not being shared. But again, can somebody hack it or have, a keystroke logger on your computer or hack your computer and access it? Anything's possible. Key point, you need to know what's happening to your money. So, some thoughts on the process or decisions of saving money, because we make decisions every day in terms of spending, what we want, what we think we need, etc. So you have to decide. You have to consciously decide to save money and reduce unnecessary expenses. So some suggestions, define what's necessary versus what's luxury in your mind. Dining out. I've been with some people that think dining out at very nice upscale restaurants is a necessity. I kid you not. Some think that fashion is a necessity. You've got to decide. Utilities is an area where, a lot of people can save some money. Most people don't realize if you leave things plugged in like I have a little space heater that sometimes I'll use during the winter. Well, if I leave it plugged in, there's lights glowing, etc. It's still running. It's still drawing energy. So you take that and a lot of the different devices that are constantly on, that's a drain. Turning off lights, running the air conditioner and keeping it very cold when you're not home. You look and examine these things and think, can I cut this? Because, you save $5 here, $10 there over a month, you save that $50. You'll save $100. It's really not that hard. There are things like gym memberships. Do you really use it? Can you do the exercises at home? TV subscriptions. Do you need multiple streaming services? Even YouTube subscriptions. And, as I kind of typed this out, I was thinking, I might have some people, drop our subscription. And if you are tight on money, then do it. Okay. We don't need or want your money if you're tight on money and you need to save money for your future. I would rather you take care of yourself first. I appreciate the subscriptions. We want this channel to, cover its expenses, maybe let us grab lunch every once in a while, but you take care of you. And so if it costs me a sub, still going to love you. We've switched grocery stores because there was one that's really nice, pretty, clean, good service, good food, but it literally is 10, 20% more expensive than one that's a block further down the road. So we've switched to that one, and that one has stepped up their game. But it's just much more affordable. My father was, raised during the Great Depression, and his family were tenant farmers, so they literally lived in a barn. So money was always precious to him. So I was raised in that environment. So for me, I am looking at ways to try to save money, and if I can, that's a good feeling. So you also want to evaluate value over price. Focus on what you're getting for your money. If you want that subscription, are you paying monthly? Well, can you save money by paying for it annually? When I buy tools, I will generally buy very good quality tools because they last. I take care of them. I keep them clean. I keep them orderly. I organize them. I take care of them. I would rather have that than those tools that break easy or wear out quickly, or we live in a society where a lot of things are now manufactured with planned obsolescence in mind, and I hate it. Refrigerators. I was reading, some reviews of refrigerators, and some people were saying, just plan on buying a new refrigerator every 6, 7, 8 years, or washing machines. I think that's a terrible waste of money. Even though it may be a little cheaper, I just think it's a terrible waste of money. So I would say buy quality. Use your credit wisely. I alluded a little bit to credit cards previously. And if you're one of those that doesn't track your spending, can't control it using a credit card, then cut it up. Now, I use a credit card for the rewards. I get 2 or 3% back a month on whatever I spend, particularly for gas, groceries, Amazon. But I pay off the balance at the end of every month. So if you have a credit card, use it wisely. If it's causing you to spend more, if you can't pay off the balance at the end of every month, put it away, cut it up. Another suggestion would be to declutter your life, clean out your belongings. A couple benefits from this actually is that you'll probably find stuff you didn't know you had. It will also help keep you from buying duplicates. I'm, really bad or have been bad at not keeping my pantry cleaned out. And so, there was food or stuff in there that was years old, wasn't any good anymore. Cans were kind of swelling. Some of them were 15 years old, 20 years old. You can hear Ellen in the background. So, but there would be some things in there that I would buy duplicates. I think I have 4 bottles of ketchup in there. So I'm not casting stones in a glass house. Some of these things are my problems too, and I'm trying to improve. Actually, going through this and putting this presentation together has helped me see some things that I could improve on. So declutter, help keep you from buying unnecessary duplicates, better track what you have, what you need. You can sell unused items for additional income. I remember a friend had some, old clothes from her older sister, mother, and so she started selling vintage clothes online. And, then she, that went so well, she started buying them. And within, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months, she was probably making 30, 40,000 a year working a few hours a day. So
Did you tell them about the pineapples?
No.
Why not? That's the best story you got.
The pineapples?
The canned pineapples?
Oh, yeah, I don't have time for that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Still clean that up. From years ago.
Another thing you can try to do is save on groceries. We've encouraged people to do this a couple times. Grow your own produce or some of your own fruits or veggies or herbs even.
And we have a great Tuesday with Jane on what are the best things to grow, what you can eat, what you can't eat, what you can use for medicine, what you can't, all that good stuff. And yes, Jane, this is the very reason I want to retire to a tiny home. I feel you, girl.
Simplify your life. A simple life is good. But if you can grow some of your own, it's better for you. And I really believe you'll end up enjoying it, taking a certain pride in it. Plan meals ahead. That's something that a lot of people don't do, aren't good at. You learn to cook in batches and freeze some of it for later.
Just don't serve it 4 nights in a row. Trust me.
And or 3 lunches in a row. It's something we kind of kid about because Ellen, I really like Ellen's spaghetti. She makes really, really good spaghetti. But when she makes it, I have a small a regular crock pot, and then I have a large crock pot. She will make the large crock pot full of spaghetti. That's not noodles. That's just sauce. Noodles are, in a 10-quart pan over on the side. So listen, when we have spaghetti.
When I grew up, it was like you had to eat what was there. If you had the same meal 10 times in a row, it was not a big deal. But Clay's, when he's when he's going to school or when he's teaching, not in the summer, when he's teaching, so I would just make him some spaghetti and put his little snacks in his lunchbox so he could go to work. And he's like, so spaghetti for dinner, spaghetti for lunch, spaghetti for dinner. I was like, guess what you're having for lunch tomorrow? Spaghetti.
She's not kidding. It's like 7 meals in a row.
But then I don't have to cook every day. It's lovely.
Yeah, and I'm like, let's freeze some of it. We can eat some of it in a week, some of it in 2 weeks,
I don't know
whatever.
how. I don't know how.
It's funny. Good
It's an
spaghetti.
ongoing joke. This is an ongoing joke for what, 5, 6 years now?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I still love her spaghetti, but
He actually,
I
you
like,
actually asked for it this past week, and
yeah,
I was like, because I was like, I'm not making any more spaghetti. Forget it. He was like, I kind of want some spaghetti. I'm like, are you sure? Are you
yeah,
sure you want
it's good
spaghetti?
spaghetti.
Oh, good
So
God.
freeze for later. Keywords there.
You have access to the freezer containers and the spaghetti sauce when I make it. You are more than welcome to do those things. Just saying.
Um, it's just something I need to get better at. It's like I said, when I was putting this together, I really started thinking of things, some things that I could do better, and that's the whole goal of this.
Yeah, I wasn't the first time, the third time I met Clay, I came into his house to help him clean things out, and I was throwing away like everything. I was like, okay, this is expired. This is like 2012, and I met you in 2018 ish. And I was like, this has got to go. No, this is not going to happen. All this stuff has got to go. And he's like, what? It's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. There's nothing fine about any of this. It's a canned food, and it's 6 years past expiration. I think, yeah, it's
Yeah, I'm
got to
like, if the can's not swelling, it's probably still good.
go. And then sauces and all kinds of things. I'm sorry, I'm embarrassing you right now, but
No, just not. It's
it was like 4 or 5
reality.
trash bags of food. I was just like, no, no. And medications and stuff from 2002 that expired. I was like, no.
I thought we found some cans back from '95.
We probably did.
Anyway, it was some of it was a little old. Old.
At one point, he was like, you just need to stop. This is too much.
It was traumatic. Remember, my father was a Depression era guy.
Oh, God.
His
But
One of his biggest vices was throwing away food. And Ellen's literally throwing away garbage bags full of food. So that was it was a tough moment.
and if
Um,
y'all aren't laughing right now, I don't know what to tell you because it was hilarious.
Maybe you had to be there, but
I don't know.
um, so same on groceries. If you can buy in bulk, use a list to avoid buying impulse items. Just keep things simple. Shop during sales. If you're doing Christmas shopping or buy for Christmas, buy in the off season. Stuff's a hell of a lot cheaper in January and February for Christmas. Now you do have to store it for a while, but um,
Hmm.
and for kids that may not be a good idea because what really are they going to want in a year? What's cool? What's the new thing? Don't know. But if you know,
Listen, my kids got very used to and very comfortable with shopping at the Salvation Army, Goodwill. They loved it because they could just go find. They knew that there was never going to be a no, right? It's like $3.
I actually still like doing some looking there. I had a friend just posted she bought a stainless steel pan set, and I forget the manufacturer of it, but they were manufactured in the late 1800s, through the early 1900s. She bought them for like
Hmm.
$3 a piece, and they
Wow.
are still perfect. They look perfect, just absolutely still good to use. And
Oh
I'm
God,
like, yeah,
yeah, I was cleaning out a rental home, and they had all of this cast iron skillets and pans and all kinds of things. And I was like, okay, as soon as I'm done cleaning, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna grab some of it because it was totally usable. They had just left it there. And by the time I was done cleaning it out, I walked out and they had already taken it and thrown it away. I was like, oh my gosh, seriously, that's crazy.
And my favorite, Sky, I always have to translate dogs discussion. I don't like calling you dogs, but
You can call
my
her
favorite
Double D. No, it's probably not good either. I don't know.
my favorite thing to do is vintage shopping. So I get it.
I do
There's
too.
you can call me dogs. That just seems entirely inappropriate for
It
such a
seems
beautiful, gracious, and sweet
disrespectful to
soul.
Clay. So yeah,
Um, Transportation, another area. We as a society are generally overweight and obese. I'm working on losing weight. So again, I'm not casting stones. I'm I will say I'm fat and I'll own it. Don't want to stay that way. So I'm trying to walk more, trying to bike a little bit more. Um, Also, do you maintain your vehicle to avoid costly repairs? Can you do simple maintenance on your own? I saw one young lady trying to add windshield washer fluid to her car, and she poured it in her oil tank, in her oil reservoir.
by the way, I do need more of that. Remind me before I go on my trip to see Jane.
Yeah, I'll check it
I'm
out.
low.
But I encourage self-reliance. But if you think you know what you're doing, that's different than actually knowing what you're doing. So if you think you know what you're doing, YouTube or get some help or suggestions, because screwing up around your car can be very, very expensive.
It can.
Adding windshield washer fluid to your oil can be very, very, very expensive.
I had a stepdaughter who I think she was 17 at the time, and she called me and she was like, "Ellen," I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "This check engine light keeps coming on," and it was a brand new vehicle that I paid for twice, but we won't talk about that part. Um, and I said, "Have you had the oil changed?" She's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Okay, you need to go to the dealership. There are quite a few of them paid for already. Go get your oil changed." She was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "I promise. It's a Toyota. Yes. Go get it changed." I mean, I don't know. They just don't teach anybody anything anymore. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I just, I wish we really would put some of these, classes. We used to call them like home ec or shop or mechanical drawing or, whatever, some of these
Life skills.
life skills kind of classes. I think those are immensely valuable.
hmm
Um, Too many people go off to college, don't even know how to cook a meal. Anyway, but yeah, maintain your car. It will end up being cheaper in the long run. A few other suggestions: buy used or even rent items that have uh, a limited time use or uncertain dedication. For example, a lot of people like to buy bikes or exercise equipment and then they don't use it. A lot of people will buy musical instruments and then, after fiddling with it for a few days or a week or whatever, they don't use it. Don't follow through. So rent these things for a while to make sure you want to do this. Also, if you can, choose free entertainment. Learn to commune with nature or meet your
Touch
neighbors again.
grass. Touch
Yeah, touch
grass.
grass, touch dirt. Put down your phone. Get off your TV, off your computer. Go walk. Make libraries fashionable again. Search out free events, concerts, museums. Go to a picnic at your local park. Go to some of the national parks. Absolutely beautiful areas. It'll help your peace, your spirit, ease stress, and help your budget. Learn to fly a kite, learn to make kites, write letters to friends and family, not emails, but handwritten letters. Learn calligraphy, learn to use real pen and ink. They will, I tell my kids when they're interviewing for jobs, get the business card of the person doing the hiring or interviewing. You don't have to worry about HR so much, but find the person doing the hiring. And as soon as you get their business card and leave their office, you sit down and you have a thank you, a nice thank you card in your pocket. You write out I appreciate your time meeting you card and drop it in the mail as soon as you leave their office. I will guarantee you that will make an impression, because there are not many kids, 22-year-olds interviewing that will take the time to write a handwritten thank you. And if you want somebody to believe your thank you is sincere, put it in writing, and it'll make a little difference. Learn a new skill.
It depends on the age of the person that you're writing it to, there.
Oh, even today, nobody writes letters.
No, but if you're the person you're writing it, the thank you for the job is like 25, they're gonna be like, "What's this?" and don't write it in cursive because they won't be able to read it.
Well, that's true, but I think if you want to separate yourself as an interviewee,
Mm-hmm.
just taking the time, the effort, the thoughtfulness to do that will make in and of itself a good impression.
True. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
not saying it's perfect, but learn a new skill. There are tons of free classes online. There are a number of, free certifications that you can get that may help you in your career, or to get a new career, or develop, some additional income on the side. Learn to make things with your hands. Learn to use your hands again. I used to have a kind of a nice little woodworking stuff, and would do some with wood. When I moved, I had to leave most of that behind because I was going to be renting for a while and wouldn't have any place to store it. And there's some issues moving, but I won't go into all that. But, take up origami. How cool would it be to, as a party trick, to sit there and fold, a piece of paper into some cool little Japanese, figure. Learn to weld.
yes.
That was a lot of fun. Will be a lot of fun. Learn to knit, make something with your hands, learn to draw or do art. A lot of, on the iPads now, you can get a pen relatively cheap, and you can learn to start drawing faces, landscapes, whatever on your iPad for basically free.
Yep, I'm going to say knitting and crocheting. They're tough. I just can't make the turn. I just can't. I've tried it a million times.
Yeah, I can't help you with that.
I know.
But learn a new language. Learn to forage, to fish, hunt, whatever. It always be learning. Always expand your skills, your knowledge, whatever. And get your ass up and volunteer. Stay busy. Idleness is one of the worst things you can do in terms of spending money, because the more bored you are, the more entertainment you want. Entertainment usually costs. The more bored you are, the more you're looking at stuff online, and you think, oh, I'd love to have that. You think so much more what you don't have or what you could use or whatever. Stay busy, volunteer, use your time wisely. If you travel or have to travel, you can save money on traveling. Obviously, planning trips ahead, just not too far ahead. Most experts say the best time to book a trip as far as price is somewhere between 2.5 months to 3 weeks in advance. That's the sweet spot as far as time. If you can, fly out on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Those are the cheapest days. Now, obviously, it's cheaper to fly before 6 a.m. or after 10 p.m.
I highly recommend, by the way, cheapoair.com.
Yeah.
It is a great source for cheap flights.
And you want to use a VPN located in a foreign country to shop for airline tickets, because if your IP number address is from an American site, the prices will oftentimes be higher. So if you're using an IP from a foreign country with a lower income, oftentimes the prices will be lower. You also, if you have a flight where there are connections, like if I'm going on an international trip, I'll probably have a connection in New York or Atlanta. Well, if I book a flight to Atlanta and then myself book a separate international flight to London or Paris or wherever, normally I could save somewhere around $500, 400, $500. Now, I have to go get my bags. I'm technically leaving the airport, so I have to go get my bags. So I have to go through security again, recheck my bags. But if you're trying to save money on international or long flights, that's not a horrible way to do it, because you're going to be laid over in an airport for probably a fair amount of time anyway. How to save on healthcare. Healthcare is a big expense. Probably most people are already aware of this, but using generics instead of brand names. I'll be at a drugstore and I'll still see people buying Bayer aspirin when the generic version is right next to it and is, $2-3 cheaper. And you think, $3 is not a lot, but again, you save $3 here, you save $5 there, you save $10 there, you got your $50 a month. One big area would be insurance. Home insurance, car insurance, renter's insurance. Most people, once they get a policy, they'll keep it for years or a decade. And the companies will do automatic price increases every year, which really aren't just inflation adjustments. The longer you're with them, they know the harder it's going to be for you to change, or the less likely you are to change. So, that's kind of built into their prices some. So you want to shop your insurance at least every 2 years. It's tedious. It's irritating. Have to talk to 10 different insurance agents, but find, a couple of independent insurance brokers that represent multiple companies. And then, some people always want to contact the big names, the State Farms, the Allstates, the Progressives, whatever. But so do that too. But just don't be in a position where you are insurance rich and cash poor, where you spend so much more on insurance than what you need to. And then, enjoy being a minimalist. Enjoy being frugal. Enjoy saving money. Enjoy not wasting things. There really is a joy and a satisfaction in that. And that's something we have, forgotten or aren't really good at in this country. So, enjoy. Take some pride in being a minimalist.
Minimalist?
Yeah, easy for me to say. Let's see here. We've got a question here on Ripple, XRP.
Mm-hmm.
What's the question?
What are your thoughts?
Um, I'm not terribly current on Ripple. They went through a lawsuit and some issues in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right now there are, I don't know, 5,000 different cryptos,
Right.
and a lot of them come and go. And I think over the next few years, as particularly now that you see ETFs, kind of like mutual funds or portfolios, the SEC has approved trading in Ethereum and Bitcoin. BlackRock just filed for another, I believe, Ethereum ETF a couple days ago. So I think more and more money is going to be aiming and directing toward the top three, which are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana,
It's Solana.
SOL, Sol.
Okay, never heard of it.
And Solana's just had some technical improvements that makes it even sexier. So, this is not investment advice, not an investment advisor, but I've got some funds in crypto. Have had. I started investing probably in 2014. So, I'm focused generally on those three. And a lot of the others, I will freely admit, there is on occasion you look at them and you go, damn, I wish I'd invested in that. And then the next day it's, vaporized. So there's a lot of volatility in play in those. I don't do active trading in them. I just kind of buy and hold. And if I see some severe price drops, I might buy there. But yeah, I don't have precise information or specific information on Ripple.
Okay,
Hope that helps.
we'll see.
And seriously, if y'all have questions or comments, feel free to throw them out. Glad to try to answer or, or not answer, but I'll give you my honest thoughts. I talked about focusing on your true needs, your future, not just the immediate. And like I say, we live in an era and an age when entertainment is really, really big. Tons of money being spent on entertainment. Las Vegas. Think about it. This city has grown huge just over being a city of entertainment. They even flaunt it. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So you can come here, be as drunk, as immoral, as wasteful as you want to be, and nobody will ever know.
Well, not maybe back in the day, but now
I'm
they're
just saying that's what they advertise. That's kind of the perception. And think about that. They have grown huge by encouraging people to waste their money because people are so obsessed with entertainment and fun.
yes, they are.
So, I know fun and being able to do stuff is important, but you really will be a more secure, happier individual, my belief, if you take care of your true needs first. And that true need also includes the future. So that's where you learn to enjoy the free things. To me, the good things in life are expensive. I like scotch, but not cheap scotch. I admit I have expensive taste. So I will say the good things in life are expensive. The best things in life are free. You can't buy them with money.
I have a tip too. I used to do this with my friends when I was broke. I would find out every local establishment that would do something for free on your birthday, and I would take my girlfriends around to on their birthday every single place. Like you get a
Just
free car wash, you can get a free coffee, you can get. I mean, there's like so many things that you can do like on your birthday that's free. And so that was kind of like my gift to them was just take them everywhere where they could get something free.
and that's a hell of a fun day.
It is a fun day because you have to get all these different places and they're just like, this is free. I'm like, yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
It's your birthday.
And, they will most likely be laughing. And what a better way to spend a birthday than laughing?
Yeah.
What a better way to spend a day with a friend and show them you love them than making them laugh. So,
Yeah, and getting the car wash and getting free coffee and, you know, all the
we're
things.
we are not as a society used to thinking of these little things. And so, I really would encourage that. I truly, sincerely believe if you give it an earnest shot, one, you'll develop better skills at it, you'll develop more comfort with it, and you'll enjoy your life better.
Yeah, and it's so much fun. I mean, I thought it was fun. I think my friends thought it was fun.
I think it's
Just,
a great idea.
thank you.
I think it's a great
Um,
idea.
It was just, why not? Let's do it. I'm going to take you to all the free things that you can possibly enjoy in one day.
Also, one other suggestion would be to observe at least one no spend day a week. One day out of the week, you don't spend a dime. You arrange it, schedule it however you want, but one day a week, no spend. Bottom line, life is unpredictable. None of us knows what's going to happen in the future. I'll talk about things and I'll talk about them a little bit in, ahead, but I look at the market and the economy, I look at trends and try to have some expectation or estimation of where things are headed, what the future looks like. But it's not a perfect system. Life is very unpredictable, but it's a whole hell of a lot easier to handle life's surprises if you were prudent previously, planned for the unexpected. Also, encourage everybody to be flexible. Look at changes in the trends, both economically and in the markets. Ignore the headlines. The headlines will never give you the information or the understanding you need. Headlines oftentimes don't even reflect what's in the story. I've seen that a number of times. But by being, modestly frugal, by knowing where your money's going, you can plan for contingencies, whether it be new job opportunities, babies, whatever. You'll be better prepared to know and see opportunities and avoid scams. So that's my suggestion. Value yourself, value your time, your name, and your effort. You will never, 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 never regret it.
Never, never.
Your finances are an extension of that. So if you don't budget, you really, to me, bottom line, it's because you don't value those three things. And always remember my rule number 2. Stupid should hurt.
It always does.
Maybe not always immediately, but
Eventually, for sure.
eventually it does. Jason, got a question. What do you guys think about the petrodollar with Saudi backing out? Well, the answer to that would be what petrodollar? We've talked about de-dollarization before, and this is just another step in that direction. Now, a lot of this is because the administration has weaponized the dollar, used it against political opponents, primarily Russia. But those countries with contrary policies to the U.S. that have long relied on the dollar are seeing this and thinking we don't want to be held hostage to the dollar, to the U.S. political whimsy. So there is a strong urge to move away from the dollar by a
We
lot of
talked,
countries.
yeah, we talked about this recently about it's kind of like, America holds you hostage, so to speak. I mean, if you trade on the dollar, then they can just say, you know what, sanctions,
Yeah.
take
Particularly
everything
when the
away.
U.S. is holding reserves, or you need access to like the SWIFT system to move money around internationally that the U.S.
Yeah,
controls. U.S. can just cut you off. Now all of a sudden you can't,
you're screwed.
use your dollars to buy anything internationally. You're screwed. So countries now understand that that is a very real threat, and they're trying to de-dollarize. And Saudi Arabia's moving away from the treaty is just another step in this progression. Now,
I don't blame them. I would too. I mean, it's like, okay, so America is just gonna pretty much, if you piss them off, screw you.
yeah.
You're done.
So
You're
there's
defunded. You're sanctioned. You're everything.
there's long-term effects. There's short-term effects. Short term, we're not seeing the dollar grow significantly weaker of late, but this is because of the stupidity of a lot of other nations.
True.
Um, the Japan is having huge problems with the yen. Won't go into all that, but the yen, has really weakened over the past few months. It's now up to right at 159 or 160 yen to the dollar. So, Europe, the ECU just announced interest rate cuts. So that kind of weakened the euro. The Fed has held rates high, which makes dollar denominated investments, still a little bit more attractive. But don't be fooled. Money in general, the trend general is money moving out of the U.S. investments, out of U.S. dollar-based assets. You've got China, you've got Russia, you've got Venezuela, you've got Saudi Arabia, you've got South Africa, you've got India. You've got an additional 40 countries that have asked to join their union to conduct trade in something besides the dollar. So if you look at the percentage of production, if you look at the percentage of the world's population that those countries consist of, that's a big slug. And you've seen, dollar denominated trade fall from, I don't know, 85% of world trade down to low 50s. We don't have real current information. It takes a year or whatever to get the data. So we don't have exactly real current information. But the long-term trend is definitely a weaker dollar. Less people wanting to use the dollar and substituting other currencies. So it is short term, long term, may be different stories. You may see some short term strength because everybody else sucks so much worse than we do. But the long term trend is there's still a lot of countries, a lot of people, a lot of production, a lot of investing that wants out of the dollar altogether for political as well as financial reasons. Thanks, Clay. With Citibank coming out of blockchain, XRP listed as part of the Bank of America, do you think XRP after regulation might be coming? Is XRP Ripple on your watch list? I think that was the one I answered a little earlier, isn't it?
No, this is a different.
Okay.
That one was from somewhere else.
Um,
And the regulation is tough on. I mean,
yeah. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to some of the others other than just cursory reviews. So I'm a little bit familiar with what Ripple has gone through and has, in essence, come out of. and a lot of people thought that that would provide a much brighter future for Ripple. Haven't seen that yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I'll have to look more at the city and BOA arrangements. Have not, I did not know XRP was listed as one of the, or
Part of
I don't
BOA.
know if it's one of the currencies that they, will accept transactions in, or is going to be the foundation for theirs. I just have to look at that a little bit more in detail.
Do you think that some of these that are related more to banks will end up being regulated by the government?
Yeah, like I say, I don't know how BOA is relating or using XRP. Now, banks, since Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum BTFs have been permitted by the SEC, banks can use those as they would, most any other ETF to hedge, to, use it in their investment portfolios, whatever. Investment banks, commercial banks could use it in trust portfolios. But I'm just not sure what's going on with Ripple in regard to those two institutions. So I'll have to do some digging on that before I can give you a better answer. I'll try to come up with something and maybe throw it out Tuesday.
For Tuesday, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
cool.
Me. Anybody else have any questions?
So actually, there's a great interview with Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massey about the sanctions and the dollar and how that the U.S. is screwing themselves. So I recommend that interview for anyone who is interested in that kind of information. Thanks.
Appreciate it very much, Jason. Thank you, sir. All
right. Anybody else? Besides the fact I'm going to see my lovely Jane this week on Wednesday.
All right. Well, while we've got a little time left, let me cover a few other things that have been going on in the market.
Before my bedtime. Yeah.
Yeah, don't let Ellen fool you. She gets off here and she'll be up another 15 or 20 minutes before she goes to bed.
I know, right?
Anyway, I have some friends who will, quote unquote, tease me about the market doing so good lately, and I just kind of smile. There's not much I'm going to say. The stock market has 9 straight weeks of inflows and upward movement. Investment exposure is now in the 95th percentile, which simply means there has been a ton of risk on, which oftentimes means it's time for risk off. Risk on means people are buying risky assets. They're taking on risk. Risk off means they're selling risky assets and buying more stable investments, treasury bills, for example. So if I look at the S&P 500, it is statistically expensive in 19 out of 20 different metrics, trading at the 95th percentile. So it's in very rarefied air.
Okay. Talk about that.
It's called an election year stock market. The thought is that, markets will be pumped up by the, availability of liquidity, let's say.
I don't believe it.
In an election year, to try to make the
Incumbent.
The incumbents look better. But the interesting thing is that the Federal Reserve, who now controls liquidity, has actually been reducing liquidity. Now they stopped liquidating some of their agency and treasury positions. They still are liquidating the mortgage backs. So what we call QT, all right, QE occurred from 2010 through, let's say, 2021.
That is quantitative easing.
Quantitative easing. Most of that time, the Federal Reserve was going out in the market and buying bonds, treasury bonds, agency bonds, or mortgage-backed bonds. This effectively lowered the interest rate. It's supply and demand. Bonds, and I've mentioned this before, but bonds are like a teeter-totter. You've got the price of the bond on one side of the teeter-totter, the interest rate on the other, and the triangle. What do you call that? Can't think of the name.
Pyramid.
Anyway, that it rests on is the fixed payment, the coupon. It never changes. Can't think of the name, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but you've got two things that move. Yeah, you've got two things that move. Price moves and interest rates move. So as interest rates go up, price goes down. As interest rates go down, price goes up. So teeter-totter. Well,
hang on one second, because I'm going to interject a little something here we talked about earlier, which is the bonds that other countries buy, right? They've stopped buying them because they get sanctioned. I mean, they're okay with like a 3% transaction fee to purchase those bonds or to sell them. And we're raising that also to 7%, around 7%. And they're like, no. And then you can just do the sanctions and take everything and seize all of our assets, and we're not doing it anymore, which is another issue relating back to what we're talking about before, but also with this.
All right. Well, let me get back to Jane's comment. Election year stock market. Well, the Federal Reserve in QE would buy bonds, which force the price of them up, which lowers the interest rate. So when the Federal Reserve is buying bonds on the market, they're putting cash out in the economy and lowering interest rates. Well, since inflation hit, 9%, the Fed did a flip. They brought in something called QT, quantitative tightening.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's just the opposite. They've got all this inventory of bonds. And so as those bonds mature, instead of buying new bonds to replace them, they just allow that money to vaporize. So they're not going out in the market and buying new bonds. And so that's one reason that the prices have fallen. Demand has dropped. And as the price of bonds fall, the interest rate rises, teeter-totter.
And no other country wants to purchase them either.
Yeah, no other country wants the bonds. So in terms of the election year, we haven't seen government, the Fed, spending more money and trying to get interest rates down and trying to put more cash and more liquidity into the economy. They've actually kind of been doing the opposite. So most of this in the stock market, like the S&P 500, I talked, 6 months ago about the Magic 7. You had, Facebook. What's Google's new name?
Meta. No, that's Facebook and Instagram.
Alphabet.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got Meta, Facebook, you've got Alphabet, Google, you've got Nvidia, you had Apple. You had these 7 basically pseudo tech companies that have done really well. Well, the other 493 stocks in the S&P 500 were either flat or negative. Nvidia, for example, now is, what is it, 32% of the index?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that Magnificent Seven has really dropped to the Magnificent Three the past few months. So all of the quote unquote increase in the S&P 500 is due to 3 companies. The rest of the companies have done nothing. So when people say the market has really done well, I kind of smile and go, no, 3 companies have done really well, and that's it. So if you are a more diversified portfolio and not in those 3 companies solely, your portfolio has probably sucked this year. So in terms of the election year bump, I'm not sure we've seen that yet. And there's still 6 months left. There's still time for the Fed to start pumping in lots of free money and cash.
But isn't
Don't know
that
if
just
they
going to
will.
add to the freaking crazy debt? I mean, I love
Inflation.
Thomas Massey's
That will
inflation and debt.
Yeah, that will add to inflation. The Federal Reserve prints money. It doesn't really
I mean,
add to
yeah,
the debt.
but it's just
Yeah,
worth less,
government
which,
spending. Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It is worth less.
And then we spend more of the money that's worthless. I don't. It's a shit show.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing about government spending. Of late, now we have spent out the wazoo.
Hmm?
And if you look at, how do I want to start this? If you look at the jobs numbers, well, recent data from the Philadelphia Federal Reserve shows that job growth has been about 80% less than the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, claimed. For example, in the fourth quarter of 2023, the BLS estimated 1.6% job growth, which is not shabby. It's pretty good. However, analyzing the same data that the BLS claims to use, the Philadelphia Fed came up with a rather anemic, the dogs are right here, they're demanding some attention. The Philadelphia Fed came up with an anemic 0.3% rate.
Amazing.
In other words, 500,000 jobs that the BLS claimed the administration had created were mythical, never existed.
Poof. Here they are.
Poof. Yeah. And it's not just jobs. I've bitched about the inflation index. It's hokey as hell. In the CPI, the component, and they've got a wanky ass component for housing, but the
Consumer price
housing
index.
component, to what?
Consumer price index. I'm just in case someone knows
Yeah.
the things you're throwing out.
Yeah, the inflation rate that the government produces. Well, they have a complicated factor in it for housing. They don't just use housing prices. Okay, anyway. Well, that housing factor is up 22% since January of 21. But if you look at the median price of houses in this country from January 2021 to May of
24.
to last month, yeah, the median price and house payment, because you've got the increase in housing prices, you've got the increase in interest rate. So the average house payment for a new house is now $2,850, not including taxes or insurance. This
That's
is
crazy.
120% higher than 3.5 years ago. So The BLS, a BA says 22%. If you look at the actual data, the real number is 120. Yeah, 120%.
And we've mentioned the jobs that they say are created. Yeah, there are more quote unquote part-time jobs, but that's because people are working more of them. We've said this before. And there are fewer and fewer full-time jobs. It's on the decline.
Yeah, I remember, the health insurance adjustment, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months ago, showed a decline of like, oh geez, these are round numbers. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a decline of like 17%. How many of you noticed your health costs going down 17% in 1 month?
I didn't.
The numbers are just stupid. The inflation numbers are just absolutely insanely stupid. I don't care. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
You've got one on a rant. Come on, do it. We love rants.
So, well, let me get back to the idea of spending. The reality is, over the past 3.5 years, the federal government has added roughly let me throw this up. Roughly 2 trillion jobs. And I get that number from this table. This is the Federal Reserve's data, which is taken from the BLS, BEA, Bureau of Economic Affairs, the two main reporting agencies for the Department of Labor. This shows the number of employed who work full-time. Before COVID, there were 131,675 full-time employees. In November of 23, there were 134 million. As of last month, there were 133 million. So since November, we have lost 1.4 and change million jobs, 1.5 million jobs.
Full-time jobs.
Full-time jobs. But if you go back to 2019, before COVID, we have gained 2 million jobs. So what the administration does is they take the number down here and say, hey, look at all these jobs we've added, which is bullshit. Because these were just the government allowing companies to reopen in the various states. Some states took longer than others. Some companies had trouble bringing people back because of the stimulus payments. They were making more at home than what they were going to make working, so they declined to come back to work. Anyway, bottom line, we've lost 1.5 million full-time jobs since November of 23. And I honestly believe this number right here, 133,264, will be revised further downward over the next 4 months. So
I like how they can just they can put the numbers out there, and then like a month later they can just say, you know what, oopsie, that wasn't it.
Yeah. So, to get this kind of jobs performance where we lose, how much money has the government spent over the past 9 months? Probably $1.5 trillion.
Yep.
So if you look at the current effect of government spending, this government spent more than $1.5 trillion. We just borrowed $1.5 trillion, $1 trillion over that time. So just borrowed. So if you look at the net effect of government spending on jobs and creation, it's not all that hot. It's not getting much bang for the buck. So I don't think government can pump out enough money to create a bunch of jobs or get a bump in the market anytime soon. So really kind of the only option is for all the government experts to, when reality does finally hit and the stock market reacts accordingly, to sit there and go, oh, nobody could have seen this coming.
Can you show that? I don't know if you still have it on your computer, but the full-time jobs and the part-time jobs.
Oh, it's buried somewhere. It'd take me a
Okay.
little while to find it.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
That
I
was a
can
fabulous
probably
graphic.
find it and throw it up Tuesday.
Okay.
But yeah, with all the files and stuff, all the different shows, it'd take me a hot minute to find it.
Poor Moffat.
Looking at, while we're on the topic, I saw this
Mhm.
coming out too. This is kind of one of my big recession indicators.
Aha.
When I'm driving down the interstate, I kind of notice how many semi trucks are on the road, and I'm seeing fewer of them. To me, that's generally a recession indicator, and it's a pretty damn good indicator. You'll notice trucking employment is declining. This is a Game of Trades graph that I stole from them, so thank you, Game of Trades. But it's a pretty little graph in terms of the information it gives. It's not necessarily pretty good information, or you know what I'm saying. Anyway, but you'll notice
good information. It's just not the prettiest graph.
When truck employment starts trending downward, that's normally when a recession is beginning or about to begin. So that's the sign that consumers are starting to buy less, retailers are ordering less, truck drivers are having to ship less. So this is a pretty damn good indicator that we probably already in a recession. Now, keep in mind.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, I was going to say there's like a ridiculous amount of rigs that are being sold right now and repoed because they can't pay for them and they don't have anything to do with them because no one's shipping anything. Now, I know that Biden and his cronies will say that it's because of a supply chain issue, but I don't think so.
Yeah, the
1.5 or I think that's about right, $1 trillion in credit card debt has gotten higher than it has ever been.
Forgot what I was going to say, but I'll think of it again. Anyway, recessions. The NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research, is the one that officially declares a recession. They're the one that sets this gray area.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually takes them 6 months to a year, year and a half after the recession started to look back and declare it, because they generally wait till all the data is known and has been revised. We've seen some pretty serious revisions in the data, the next month, following months. Now, that doesn't make headlines. The headlines are the good numbers.
Right.
But the NBER is going to wait till the data has been finally revised before it declares a recession. So even though they haven't officially declared a recession, I look at stuff like this and other numbers and say, we're in a recession. And probably most people out there would agree. You look at the number of jobs that have disappeared. Like Jane says, the jobs just disappeared. I thought it was the best economy of all time, according to Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just one of those poorly informed masses who don't understand how great the economy is, I guess. You just need better education.
Clearly.
So it's a little different. Now, something else I saw that I thought was mildly fascinating was this graph.
Okay, median. It's after 9.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just getting warmed up.
Go for it.
Quick.
But no, but Good night, everyone. Sweet dreams. And I will see you on Tuesday. I will let Moffat do his thing here. And yeah, all right. I will see y'all later. Love you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. This is median income from every state. As of 2024, I don't know the exact month, but let's just say first quarter of 2024. Median income. There's median and mean. Mean is the average. Median is the middle number. There's an equal number below it and an equal number above it. So if we look at these, the thing that struck me as interesting was DC was the highest at $162,000 average income, median income per year. California was 124, Massachusetts 128. Then you've got some of the southern states. Mississippi was the lowest at 47, Alabama 55, Pennsylvania at 75. You've got Montana at 69, which just had a lot of people moving from California and Montana to bump that up. Florida is 69. So gives you kind of some interesting numbers in terms of median income, but DC blowing everybody away. Absolutely blowing them away. Now, in terms of expenses, kind of thought this fit in with tonight because we were talking about budgeting. And so if you look at this is the income an individual needs to live comfortably in the US. And this is based on that 50-30-20 rule. So it's taken, what would be a comfortable necessity budget? What would be a comfortable wants budget? What would be a comfortable savings budget? And so taking those amounts and then using that to calculate the necessary income for the state. You've got Massachusetts coming in at 116, California at 114,000. Alabama, I was kind of surprised at the cost in the high cost in the southern states because these would be generally cheaper states, cheaper property values, food, energy, whatever. Alabama, 84,000. Now remember, Alabama's income, just put these side by side. Of course, it'll probably be too small for y'all to see, but yeah, Alabama's income's 55. Well, to live comfortably in Alabama, you need 84. Okay. California. Whoops. Okay, I'm not doing this well. Well, I apparently closed it.
You need my help.
This is hard. Ellen's sticking her head in, laughing at me because I'm having a hard time here. California, median income's 124. Well, to live comfortably in California, you need 114K. Anyway, just looking at these numbers, I thought was modestly fascinating. And in terms of the expense, I'm sitting here looking, I don't even see DC. Don't know why it's not listed in here. You've got Maryland at 103, Virginia at 100. So it would, be higher than that. But just thought that was kind of interesting. it just kind of shows you how tight things are getting for the average person in a lot of these. Because California, you got to remember, the median income is um is this median too? No, this is just income. So this isn't, the average of anybody. This is just kind of a mathematical estimate. But interesting, kind of seeing what's going on in the different states and in terms of the lifestyle. If you look at the majority of states, the the median income is not enough to live quote unquote comfortably. And I don't know what the historical data is, but I would think that's an extreme anomaly in US history. Don't know. That bears some more research, and I'm not sure where I could get good data. It might take some work to do that, but I might try to spend a little time on that and see. But, this is just, you want to know why people think the economy sucks? Well, there you go. Because most of them aren't making enough to quote unquote live comfortably. Now, can make different arguments on that too. Is it because we're used to spending too much? It's because we don't live simply enough. We waste too much. Anyway, it's just food for thought. Um, but it's hard to make an argument from this that consumers aren't hurting. And you've got to understand, consumers are key to the economy. Over the past few years, consumers, have been propped up by the stimulus payments, by some raises, by soaring debt. They've managed to continue spending. Reality is, all three of those now are tapped out. The savings have vaporized. Wage growth has fallen by 80% the past quarter. Delinquency rates on debt have increased 50%. Consumers are now starting to buy fewer cars, refrigerators, washing machines, new homes. So don't be shocked to see manufacturing jobs starting, to get hit next. We've already seen what's happened to trucking employment. Anyway, you look at some of the trends going, none of them are good for the overall economy. So sooner or later, reality's going to have to hit. So make of that what you will. I'm not trying to give you investment advice, but I'm saying if you are investing in the stock market or interested in investing in the stock market, you may want to be a little cautious, be a little bit more defensive now. I am. I still remain, defensive. I'm willing to give up, some percentage return to avoid a 10, 20, 30% drop. Long term, that's how your best portfolio managers do. Now, a lot of people think buy and hold. Well, to me, there are certain major times when the stock market is really cheap or really expensive, or when risk is increasing beyond a reasonable level. And I think, risk is increasing beyond a reasonable level. So I'm cautious. Right now, in money markets, you get 5 or 6%. That's not horrible. But that's where I am. Those are some of the thoughts, some of the things I see, some of the trends, whatever, that are currently ongoing in the country, in the world. Anybody have any questions? I know we've run a little bit long. I do want to, thank you all for, being with us tonight. Did enjoy, having you. I hope the time was profitable. And, if you've got some questions or comments, please, email me, moffatonmoney@gmail.com, DM me on Twitter, Moffat on Money. Also, if you will, please hit the like, subscribe buttons if you haven't. That that helps support the channel. And just really appreciate y'all. Y'all are y'all are our family. We missing a couple people tonight who they actually kind of email and say, won't be able to be there tonight. And that's just kind of cool. Not that they're not here, but that it really is kind of a little family, and we love you guys. So appreciate y'all, appreciate your time, your support, your encouragement, your kind words, and look forward to seeing y'all again Tuesday. Our time is up. We thank you for yours. Good night, all. Blessings to you.